Okay, sorry for the delay in getting started. The snow has affected everything in the province, apparently. I'm with Amanda. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Amanda Barth, and I'm with Ontario West Insurance Brokers, located here in London. And I am a registered insurance broker. Been in the industry for 15 years.
Awesome.
And been with Ontario West for 2.5.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to talk about specific insurance for Airbnb today. Basically, I've had other videos where I talk about the kind of insurance that Airbnb itself provides. But a lot of people keep asking about what the options are for Ontarians to actually make sure their home is insured via home insurance.
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand and realize that your home insurance does not cover short-term rental, and that's what Airbnb is kind of identified as in the insurance industry. So without the proper coverage and without advising your insurance company that you're doing a short-term rental, there would be no coverage potentially on any claim in your home.
Exactly. So this is separate from the Airbnb claims that you can put in. But as I shared with my other video, there was like a 6-week delay when I had to put in a large claim. So if you're looking to make sure that your house is covered for something, that you can kind of get access to an insurance broker right away, those are the options we're going to talk to you guys about to make sure that you're 110% covered if you're going to do Airbnb in your home or vacation property, as we were talking about.
Yeah, so in regards to a policy, what happens is if your home or condo or even vacation property does not know about these short-term rentals, any sort of claim could be denied because you're misrepresenting the use of that property. So there are companies out there, regular markets, that will allow you to add this coverage to your property to make sure that that gray area, or what we would consider a gap of coverage, is taken care of. One of the companies that I like working with is Aviva. And they do have 3 different options when it comes to the Airbnb rentals. So the client has a choice of committing to the Airbnb at different levels.
Yeah, so we were talking about if you're going to just try it or if you're going to be doing it full time, and how much of the house you're actually going to use for Airbnb.
Yeah, so this company, one of the companies and options that we have is that you can look at renting out your home for up to 90 days, the entire home, or you can rent out a portion of your home for the full year. The next tier in that coverage would be renting out the entire home for 180 days, which may be more of a vacation property, and then or having part of the home rented out for the entire year. Or if we're looking at income properties that are strictly full-time rentals and they are not occupied by the owner. So there are 3 different ways to look at adding this coverage to your property.
Which is great because when I started this 3 years ago, there was no insurance coverage that technically really covered Airbnb. I mean, except for the platform itself. And the fact that Aviva is doing this on 3 different levels is kind of good, because if it is just a room in the house, like the way that I tend to do things, compared to somebody who has like a cottage and they're doing it full time, it does need to be kind of considered differently.
Absolutely, and depending on the type of exposure that we have, and that would be how many days, and as well if it's owner occupied, is going to then determine the cost. So I think that's another important aspect for clients and consumers thinking of trying the Airbnb. You want to make sure that that you have the coverage, but it makes sense financially. There's no point in investing in a property or doing the whole platform of the Airbnb if the cost of the insurance outweighs the potential income that you're generating.
Yeah, and I know each insurance home is different, so I know you can't say an exact amount, but do you have like a ballpark figure for what the difference of cost is between regular insurance and like having it as a complete Airbnb?
Yeah, so Aviva has a great tool on their website that would be accessible for brokers.
Okay.
And what we would do is, let's say you gave me a quick call and I asked, what is the current cost of your insurance for your home? And let's say you said it was $1,600 for the year.
Yeah.
By putting that into the quoting system and then defining the use and how the occupancy of the Airbnb, is it the 90 days, 180, or the entire property, a percentage would be applied.
Yeah.
I think you'd be looking at an additional 15 to 20% on top of your current premium.
Okay.
So it kind of
That's
gives you
not
an
too
idea.
bad though.
No.
Because some people think that it's like it's high risk. So 15 to 20% on the insurance isn't going to be that much.
Well, and it's going to depend on, all of the factors of a normal homeowner's policy. So the replacement costs of the home,
Right.
the postal code, have there been any claims? There are a lot of factors, but it gives you a rough idea, and it gives me as a broker kind of a quick answer for you before we even start the whole process of trying to quote on it. Is this an option? We do have some other high risk markets that will take on short-term rentals. I wouldn't get to that point in a quote unless it was declined by Aviva. So the starting point would always be a regular market unless there was a unique feature to the property.
So just for people that don't know a lot about insurance, or maybe don't have Airbnb type insurance on their home right now, what's the difference between the company that you work at and Aviva? Like you're a broker.
Okay.
You're a broker.
Yep.
So what is Aviva, the insurance provider?
Yeah, so Aviva is an insurance company. They're one of the largest companies in Canada that we would have access to. As a broker, I am the middle person. I'm the one that the consumer comes to for the education and advice and access to the different markets that are available for what they're looking to quote on. So at Ontario West, we have access to 15 different companies that we could quote with. But when we start looking at specialized coverages like Airbnb, it restricts us. At this point, I've located 2 that I would have contracts with that I could quote with. So it's nice to have somebody that has been in the industry long term, has the education and the licensing to help somebody go through this process.
Okay, so if someone's like hesitating to start with this and they're very careful with the risk assessment, what's the biggest thing you want to tell people that they need to be careful with for insurance when they're doing Airbnb?
When it comes to the Airbnb, I know and I'm learning that there is a platform and the clientele that you're bringing in do have references, and there is a process of doing this doing the rentals for
the
Airbnb.
reviews and whether or not they've been given a thumbs up or a thumbs down from the current host that were a previous host is another way too.
Okay, so then when it comes to the owner of the home, the biggest thing for them is just making sure that they have the coverage in place, because with the coverage in place, they're protecting their main asset, which is their home, and they're using the proper platform to make sure that the clients coming to their home have been given the proper rating that they feel comfortable with. So this coverage is only applicable, or this short-term rental is only if you go through one of the home rental networks, which is the Airbnb that we're talking about. So,
and when we're talking about injury or personal liability in situations like that, is there a difference in what's covered if you're doing it on an Airbnb home, or is it still like you choose if you want $1 million liability, or you can just choose what level you want for that?
Yeah, so the additional coverage for the Airbnb or for the short-term rental, it's bringing in additional coverages. The maximum amount of liability you can purchase with an Airbnb is $2 million. $2 million liability is a fairly standard homeowner limit anyways.
Yeah.
But if you were doing the Airbnb, I would recommend the $2 million to max out at as well. But it's bringing in coverages that aren't normally a part of a policy. Because you have people coming into your home, there are situations where they're bringing guests to their Airbnb, and if those guests are injured, you as a homeowner become liable as well. So if somebody is injured, let's say with a slip and fall, and they're there visiting your home because of an Airbnb client, if there was a lawsuit, the person that invited them there will be listed in that, but as well the owner of the home. So we need to make sure that this homeowner's policy will defend the homeowner.
Yeah, this is all like new too, because Airbnb is so new. So has this happened anywhere in Canada that you know about yet thus far?
Not that I know of from a claim standpoint.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of it either. That's why I thought I'm gonna look into this more to see if it's happened so far. But I think it's just kind of been the insurance company catching up with the technology of home sharing right now.
And I think
just like Uber, right?
And it's not, when it comes to insurance, yes, the stuff is important, but the liability exposure Even if you're renting, if you are having a party at your home, if you're having short-term rentals, and those people are bringing friends and family to that short-term rental, you're liable as the homeowner. You're even liable if a person is trespassing. If they're injured on your property and they're trespassing, you still have an obligation to that person, and that's not something that you can dispute. Bottom line is you're responsible if you own property.
That's so interesting.
And when it comes to the Airbnb and having these clients come into your home, even if you've gone through the process, they've gotten their thumbs up, they come into your home, that does not mean that there could not be damage, there could be theft, and as well there could be intentional criminal acts that occur in your home because of this person through the short-term rental. And those are the coverages that Aviva brings in under the Airbnb coverages.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
well, there's always a possibility of something going wrong, but I've been doing it for 3 years. I think that when something goes wrong, it gets exploded in the media and dramatized, but it is important that you are covered, which is why I wanted to share this information with you. With you guys. So was there anything else you wanted to talk about via Aviva for the Airbnb insurance?
So in regards to as Candace said, it's not that these intentional acts happen, but let's say if there was an unfortunate fire because of use in the kitchen or cooking or something like that, because that person's there based upon the Airbnb as a client, your home policy would not extend. So the loss or damage definitely could be accidental. And as well, people are quite creative when they're trying to figure out ways to to steal money or identities or personal property, or have a party and there's damage to your home. These are things that you need to consider because they can happen. And as well, something else to consider is that if there is a claim on your home due to an Airbnb tenant, and as the homeowner, you're losing out on your normal income because of the Airbnb having to stop, that would be part of the claims process as well. So
I love that part about this insurance. Because on a normal rental property, if your property is shut down and your tenants are out and you've given all the information ahead of this claim, obviously, to the insurance company that so-and-so is staying for this amount, then when the house is damaged, if you have to remove them, you get paid for the loss. But now Aviva is providing this as well for Airbnb.
Correct. So it's a standard coverage if you own a rental property. And I would strongly recommend that, because if you don't have a tenant, most people use that tenant to float their mortgage.
Depending. Some people only have 1 or 2 properties. So it's really important in case that happened at the same time that you're a little low on cash, you're covered financially.
That's part of the claim, and it's something that you're taking care of. And as well, the nice thing about working with a broker during this process is, yes, Aviva is taking care of the coverages, but I'm there to answer questions, to make sure that return calls are made, to make sure that you, the consumer, understand the industry. We want to make sure that the coverage is there, but in the event of a claim, that the company is there and that you're being supported by the broker at that time. So,
awesome.
Very good.
Okay, cool. So just a few more questions, I guess, and we'll wrap it up. Is there other companies besides Aviva that you're working with right now, or is this the one you're focusing on?
So when it comes to the Airbnb, Aviva would probably be my first choice.
Okay.
There, as I said, there would be a more of a higher risk market. So if we were looking at a straight rental income that was fully occupied by multiple people on a rotating basis, we may have to look at a higher risk market, but my focus would be Aviva, just based upon the rates.
Awesome. Okay, I think we covered everything that I could think of, but if you guys have any questions, please comment them below. I'm going to put a link to Amanda's contact information as well. So if you have specific questions, it's very hard to talk about this in specifics because each house is worth a different amount and people are doing Airbnb in all different ways. So this is just for general information purposes. But if you need a quote, you need to go directly to Amanda and give her all your information. And can they do this before? And a really good question would be, can they do it if they're already doing Airbnb? Can they apply for the insurance now that they've seen this video and they know that maybe they're not covered?
Absolutely. And I think that there's no time like the present. If you don't currently have this coverage and you require it,
Yeah.
you're not going to be penalized and not given a quote because of that. I think that, I think it's knowledge and understanding the market. And you're right, the insurance companies are finally catching up to the new way that people are doing things, the ride sharing, the home sharing, the side hustles that everybody is trying to do.
There's a lot of side hustle.
And I think that it's really important to make sure that as a consumer, you understand and you deal with somebody that's really taking